Stay right where you are, because I'd like to welcome you to a special edition of Electronics Plus. And we have a great show in store for you today that you don't want to miss. And if you're a movie buff like I am, you just can't get enough of Hollywood. And on today's program, we have some items that are sure to tickle the fancy of any fun-loving movie nut, or just any old nut at all. We're going to show you everything from an answering machine that answers with celebrity voices, to a home video of the Hollywood classic Gone with the Wind, to a doll that really talks. All of this right here. And speaking of celebrity, we have a man who I never know how to introduce because I never know who he's really going to be. He's that man of 1,000 voices, the impressionist. He is the best in his field, Mr. Rich Little. Welcome,
Hi,
Rich. Good to see you again.
Nice to be back.
You know, Rich, this marks the umpteenth time I've interviewed you. That's the first time you came on like Rich Little.
Yeah, I can finally imitate myself after all these years. It was difficult.
I sometimes wonder how you know who you really are.
Sometimes I don't. You know, the other day I was in a restaurant eating and I felt a sneeze coming on. And I sneezed as Donald Duck. You know, and then I thought that'd be an interesting routine, sneezing as celebrities.
Well, there's a guy named Franklin Pangborn some years ago who made an entire career in Hollywood out of sneezing. Do you remember him at all?
No. Oh, yes, I do. Franklin Pangborn.
Yes.
Yes.
He was the sneezer. Now, maybe you could revive his act.
Well, I did Donald Duck's. Chef came out and said, "You're supposed to eat that duck, not sneeze it."
Rich, I've seen you in Las Vegas many times and on stage when you do your one-man show. And I tell you the truth, I never get tired of listening and watching you because it's so refreshing to hear someone who has really made an art form of what you do.
Well, thank you,
You
Bob.
really study these people with the voices, don't you?
Yeah, and I love movies. I mean, that's my one big hobby. I love the old movies. Bless Ted Turner, you know, that those old classic MGM movies and the Warner movies. Boy, that's my idea of a fun evening, watching
How do you
old
feel
movies.
about the colorization that he does?
You know, I like the colorization of movies. I'll admit there are certain movies that shouldn't be colored, like Citizen Kane, you know. But there are other movies, outdoor movies, like some of the Errol Flynn swashbucklers, I think are great in color. And the color now is better than it was, so I really like it.
You know, today on this edition of Electronics Plus, we have a lot of items to show you, one of which is a tape called Phonies that you can buy from us, and it features Rich Little and also a friend who's on there as well, Rick Dees' wife.
Julie Dees.
She is so good.
Oh, she is the best.
And the fact that you would choose her to be on a tape with you sort of is an endorsement of you saying, yes, you're good, Julie.
Well, I think she may not be the greatest female impersonator, but certainly one of them.
Well, she is wonderful, and you're going to hear her too today. But what I was going to tell you about is this Phonies tape, and if you buy an answering machine for your telephone, Rich Little can answer your phone as President Reagan.
Well, yes. Yes, I'm. Well, there's no one available at the moment, and they're probably out looking for work. And my gosh, that's what I'm doing. But if you'd care to leave your name and your number, they'll get back to you, and I will too, with a resume.
Now, that's one of the voices on the tape that you can get, and Rich and I will tell you about that a little bit later on. Of course, with President Reagan, you had a lot of fun with him. You must have been the happiest guy in the world when he got elected president.
Well, yes. Yes, because
You know, the interesting thing about Ronald Reagan was, and I never thought it was possible after Richard Nixon, who was so physical, you know, but sometimes I get my biggest laughs just doing the physical.
you know, that sort of,
You know, and not saying anything because he was so physical with those sort of, you know, those jerky movements that he had.
But that's one of the big differences between you and your road companies, and that is that when you do a characterization, you do the voice, you capture the whole essence of the individual. That's what makes a difference.
Well, I try to, Bob. I mean, I try to do a character from the inside out rather than the outside in. In other words, I try and get into their skin, so to speak. Sometimes, when I'm doing Johnny Carson, I get so into it, I have this urge to write an alimony check.
Well, we're going to talk more with Rich Little because I know he's aware of the fact that although he's not president anymore, that President Reagan is still traveling around. And I want to ask you about that.
Well, yes, I just came back from Japan, and I was over there making money. Made $2 million for a speech.
That's a lot of money.
Well, no, not really. It's just $100 a word. But
What are you going to do with all that money?
well, a Japanese fellow wanted us to invest it in a farm in Alaska, and Nancy and I thought it was a good idea, so we're going to grow frozen vegetables in Alaska. And that sounds like a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's a great idea. Now, on this program, we have a lot of items besides your phonies tape that we're going to talk about, the first of which is a telephone. And I wonder if you could introduce me to do that commercial for this telephone as... well, take your pick. Who would you like to introduce me to? Not Alexander Graham Bell, that's out of the question, but maybe Jimmy Stewart or someone like that?
How about Andy Rooney?
Oh, I love it.
Man.
I love it. I love it. Let me get over my
I love
position.
Bob. He's a wonderful personality. Just keeps talking till he thinks of something to say. He does a wonderful job. Bob, why don't you tell us a bit about why do people use a telephone? What's wrong with a horse, you know, to get your message, you know?
It's just to keep in touch, that's basically, but you know, sometimes at night it's difficult to find your phone. Well, it's new, it's hot, it's neon, it's the neon telephone. And I trust in this bright mall that you can see that this is pink, this is blue, and this is green, neon on both sides of the dial portion of this phone. It's item number 1655273 and compares at $179.95. This phone can be yours in the color of your choice for only $99.99. Now, neon lighting control will allow you to choose from high, low, or off. So you can either have the neon on bright to light up your whole room, have it on a little lower so you can find the phone in the dark, or if you're not in the mood to have it on at all, just switch it off. And speaking of switching, the phone is also tone pulse switchable, so it will work no matter what telephone system you have. Light flashes, by the way, the light on this neon when the phone rings. Now, it also has a ringer control, and you can choose from there again, high, low, or off. Now, as we have darkened the lights here in the mall, you can really get a glimpse of what this looks like. We have all three of these on bright. Incidentally, the phone is also hearing aid compatible. It features not only the light and those other features like that, but it also has last number redial, pause, flash, and also a mute button. It's fully modular, FCC approved, and you can choose from blue, they call that pink, or green. It looks a little fuchsia to me. Item number 1655273 compares at $179. It's only $99.99. And you can order this right now by calling us at 1-800-255-1344 and use your JCPenney charge, your MasterCard, your Visa, or your American Express and send for it right now. You'll love this telephone. Well, that's item number one, Rich, and I'm very happy to have you back here again today. I never know where to go with you singing-wise or talking-wise, because you do everybody. You do Frank Sinatra, don't you?
Yes, very carefully.
I was going to ask you, the reason I brought his name up, it seems to me that if he didn't like it, you could be in giant trouble.
Not really. You know, a lot has been written about Frank. I really like the man, and he's come through for me many times. As a matter of fact, in my home city, which is Ottawa in Canada, I'm a Canadian, he came up there to help me out, and we raised $1 million for a hospital up there. I mean, this is the kind of a guy Frank is. I mean, he's there when you need him. And he's a beautiful guy. I really
Was he difficult to capture?
Well, with Frank Sinatra, it's just marvelous, marvelous, Bob. Scooby-Dooby, baby, you know. Now, this can only happen to a guy like me, and only happen in a town like this. And so I say to each of you, most gratefully, Scooby-Dooby-Dooby.
Terrific, terrific. I feel like I'm in the front row in Las Vegas watching Rich Little. You know, Rich, an answering service is a thing that we like to talk about here on the show, because a lot of people were reluctant to get one of these. And here in Electronics Plus, I have watched them come from the Stone Age all the way up to an item this small. This is an answering machine.
Isn't that incredible?
And you could use this answering machine to play your phony's tape on. That would allow you to answer the phone in a character voice of one of your famous characters for the people who buy this, and I'll tell you more about that in a bit. But don't miss those important calls again. This small machine is a Record-a-Call 800 answering machine. The item number is 639-8341, and the price was $69.99. Now it's only $49.99. That's all that's standing in the way of you and the convenience of having an answering machine. Plus, even from this one, you're saving $20. It has beeperless remote answering, and that means that if you're away somewhere, you can pick up a telephone, dial your number, and retrieve your calls. It has personal memo, toll saver, single micro cassette design, and that means you don't have to bother with all those tapes. It features call screening, remote turn on, and that simply means if you're away and you have forgotten to turn on your answering machine and suddenly you think, I was expecting a call, they'll wonder where I am, call your phone, and from another telephone, there's a feature that will allow you very easily to turn on this machine. It also has power failure memory that will save messages. No batteries are needed. It has 4-function tone remote access, voice activation, records only when the caller speaks. It has convenient one-touch playback. The item number is 639-8341. It's only $49.99. Now, to record this, all you have to do is follow the simple directions, press a button, and it has a built-in microphone. Now, if you get the phonies tape that I'm about to introduce you to that Rich Little has made, along with Julie Dees, then you can hold your cassette player playing that cassette next to the microphone, and you can choose from one of 12 voices on this phonies tape, and then you'll have your phone answered by somebody else. Like, for example, one of the characters on there, one of the voices done by Rich Little on there, is Jack Nicholson. Now let's pretend that this answering machine is already programmed. It has had that tape played into it. Someone calls you and you're not home, and the answering machine kicks in and Jack Nicholson will answer.
Hey man, there's nobody home at the moment. You know, what can I tell you? But if you care to leave your name and your number, we'll get back to you. But if you don't, well, hell, don't ever call here again.
That could be on your telephone. Now, if you'd like to order the answering machine, it's item number 639-8341, and it's $49.99. Use your JCPenney card, your MasterCard, your Visa, or American Express. Call right now at 1-800-255-1344. Now, that's only one in this volume that Rich has of phonies that is on there, that voice of Jack Nicholson. But I understand, Rich, that's about the favorite one on there, isn't it?
It's one of them, yeah, because Jack is so popular these days, and he's such a great personality. I love to do.
Well, we have the tape right here. This is the way we ship it out if they buy this. It's packaged like here, has all the people's pictures on the front, including Rich, that are on here, and this is the cassette that you're getting. And with this, you simply wait for the beep and leave a message with Ronald Reagan, Cary Grant, Jack Nicholson, Humphrey Bogart, and more. It's the Answering Machine Celebrity Tape by Rich Little. It's item number 1627827, and the price is only $9.95. If you have an answering machine or plan to get one, this is a great thing to buy along with it, because it's more fun to have somebody else answer your phone. It sounds silly for you to answer it when you're not there by saying, hello, I'm not here now. Well, if you're not there, how can you answer the telephone? Wouldn't it be more fun to have Ronald Reagan answer your phone? For home or work, this tape is a great way to amuse your callers and prevent those annoying hang-ups. You know, that's true, Rich. A lot of times if you make your own tape, people say, he's not home, and hang up.
Yeah, that's true. You have to make it interesting, and you're right. Most people do it themselves, and it is a bit boring, and as soon as you hear it, they hang up. Now, we found with phonies, if you hear a celebrity, people will, it'll create more interest. Now, some people say that they're just phoning to hear the voice and they're not going to leave a message. But that's not true. We have actually proven that more people leave a message when you have a celebrity do it than if you did it yourself.
Did I describe that pretty well? It's very simple to transfer this from this tape onto there, because you play this in a cassette machine, put it right in front of the microphone of your answering machine, it picks up beautifully.
Yeah, and you feed it into it. I know once in a while we hear about a little old lady who says, wait a minute, this thing's so big, and I tried jamming it into your little machine, So you just feed it into it, as you say.
Yeah, you don't put the tape in the machine.
No,
You play
won't
it into
fit.
the microphone. Jimmy Stewart is on here.
Uh-huh.
And one of my favorite people of all time. I've never met him.
Oh, he's
But
beautiful.
he's on my list of people I'd love to have a chance
You'd like
to
him.
meet.
You'd like him.
Is he a nice man?
Oh, he's a sweet, sweet man. And he's so patient, and he's just so pleasant to be with, and a great sense of humor.
Is there enough time on this tape to have him answer your
No,
phone?
well, that was the point of it. If you listen to it, do we have it? You will hear why Jimmy Stewart really isn't the best choice to do.
This is actually on this tape. It can be on your answering machine. Listen.
Listen carefully. I have only 10 seconds to explain to you how to leave a message on one of these machines. Now, the first step is the most important step there is. What you've got to do is,
The 10 seconds are over. Of course, then your beep comes in, they leave the message, and they're pretty sure to do that. We mentioned Julie Dees. How did you choose who she would do on this tape, Rich?
Well, she has her own characters, Bob. She does a lot of voices I've never heard before. She does Marilyn Monroe, she does Elizabeth Taylor, and she does a marvelous Barbara Walters.
Want to hear that?
Incredible Barbara Walters.
Listen, now she could be answering your phone with Barbara Wawa. Listen.
Whoa, the house you have called couldn't be more glorious. The playroom off the swimming pool has its own jacuzzi, sauna, microwave oven, food dehydrator, and this widow answering machine. The lady of the house jogs, plays tennis, and has no trouble getting a partner on her own racquetball court. So leave your name and number, and maybe you'll get invited over for a glass of Wawa.
That's part of this phonies tape now. You can choose from Nixon, Kissinger, Jimmy Stewart, Jack Nicholson, Cary Grant, Marilyn Monroe is on here, Betty Davis is on here, Ronald Reagan, Humphrey Bogart, W.C. Fields, Barbara Walters, whom you just heard impersonated by Julie Dees. She also does a great Shirley Temple. Not the drink, the call. Item number 1627827. The price is only $9.95. Call now and get this. So if you get a new answering machine or you have an old one around your house, update it by having Rich Little and his cast of characters answer your telephone. Rich, when I see you in Vegas, I'm always impressed when you come out on stage. You're so current. You walk right out. Can I play like the MC at whatever club you had me playing there in Vegas and have you come out and do part of your opening?
Sure.
All right?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Caesar's Palace is very proud and pleased to present Rich Little.
Do you ever wonder what a lot of celebrities did before they became famous? Some of their early jobs going way back. There are obvious ones. W.C. Fields was a juggler. I think most people know that. Mr. T was Mr. S. No, he was a bouncer in a club. Now, Richard Nixon. This is interesting, and I looked this up. Did you know that Richard Nixon at one time used to be a chef in his own restaurant in Southern California? A chef. Good God, I'm having a jowl movement. Well, first of all, let me say this. I am not a cook. I have never been a cook. I don't even know what a cook looks like. I am the owner of my own restaurant here in Southern California. The Tricky Dicky Gourmet Bistro and Beanery. Now, if you come in for lunch, we have a marvelous menu for you. We will start you off with the soup du jour. This week, it's White House leeks. Our main entree is bagels and broken locks. And listen, if you want something to drink at Tricky Dicky's, we have two marvelous drinks. An impeachment brandy or a subpoena colada.
Now you know what it's like.
Did you know what Jimmy Carter used to do years ago?
No, what?
Now, this is unbelievable, but I looked this up and I've had it verified. This is going to destroy you, but it is true.
What did he do?
Hard to believe. Do you know that Jimmy Carter at one time, President of the United States? No? Oh, I guess I went too far.
You
with
mean
that.
that was just a dream? We didn't really live through that?
No, I read it somewhere. Okay, that's kind of silly. I'm sorry, Bob. Go
Would you
on.
have Jimmy introduce me to do this next item that we have?
Jimmy Stewart?
No, Jimmy Carter.
Oh, Jimmy Carter.
See, I just want to see how quickly he could switch from one to another. More Jimmy Carter.
Hot damn, it's good to be here. After what I did, it's good to be anywhere. I'm on a roll. What would you like me to do, Bob?
Well, I'm going to talk about this. I'm getting into that southern accent, too.
This music machine is absolutely fantastic. It really is. My brother Billy used to play with this.
Do you ever think you'd want to be a singer, Jimmy?
No, I never sang to anybody. Nixon did that.
But now you can make professional quality sounding recordings with this machine that Rich just pointed out right here. It's called the Studio B Dual Cassette Recording System by SongTech.